And I'll turn on the air soon. Let me just check that everything's working. Can you guys hear us? I think Abby nodded yes. Okay. Yeah, Abby, you can hear us? She's saying something. Okay, she nodded yes. Okay.
Can I see who's...
So usually yes, but I didn't set that up because, but I can kind of just, all right, let get started, and then during the share I can, oh, and she just turned off her.
Yeah, you won't be able to see if somebody.
They've turned off their mic. They turned off their,
But
you could hear them.
Okay.
I'm
Let's
here.
start.
I'm
Yeah,
here.
okay.
I just turned off the video.
Right, sorry, we're running a little late. My clock was off. So, okay, we're good to go though.
It says I got more. Okay. Oh, how's everybody? So I was debating what to do today. Last week, when we went around and talked about what are our challenges in tefillah, a number of people mentioned kavanah. So I said, you know what, before we delve into the words of the Amidah, let's just take another week of introduction and really think about the whole topic of kavanah. And it's my goal for us today that, hi, welcome, that we should, hopefully I'm going to talk about tips and tricks and things from Chazal. Welcome. Please remind me of your name.
Sharon.
Sharon.
A lot of Sharons. There's a shir at 10 in Hebrew, also given by a Sharon.
Yeah.
And it's Sharon Ramon, and I'm Melissa Raymond, and she's Sharon Raanan. Very confusing. The office thought I made a mistake when they were like,
So hopefully my goal by the end of the shiur is that we should all have like tips and tricks and things that we can do to increase our kavanah levels. So I'm going to start with a song. It's a song by Yonatan Razel. I have the words. Let's just take a quick look at the words first before we listen to the song. The structure that he had, I mean, I felt like I chose the song because it really captures just some of the challenges of having kavanah. In particular, what he's focusing on is, God, are you there? I can't see you, but are you there? Are you listening to me? So let's take a look at his words. And it's not his most beautiful, like pretty song, but it's this very raw emotions, and that's why I chose it. Okay. ואני תפילתי לך את רצון, האם אתה שומע קולי? שוב אני עומד פה ערום לפניך, האם אתה זוכר מי אני? Can you hear me? Do you remember who I am? זה אני הקטן שהנחת בגן. Which gan is he talking about? It's Gan Eden. He uses the word Adam in the first couple of sentences. I am like Adam in Gan Eden. מבקש, קורא לך שתבוא אליי האדם, כי אני זקוק לך בעולם. God, I need you. Are you here? Where are you? And then it flips, and then כאילו God speaks. As אם תשמע קול עמוק, if you hear a deep voice, עמוק מתוך תוכך, תבין שלא עזבתי אותך. I have not left you. אם תשמע קול שקט, if you hear a still small voice, שקט מתוך תוכך, תבין שלא עזבתי אותך. I have not left you. כי זה אני אלוקים שיצרתי אותך, מבקש, קורא לך, תבוא אליי. אלוקים, כי אני זקוק לך. I need you, meaning God, as much as we need God, God needs us. כי העולם זקוק לך בן אדם, כי אתה זקוק לך בעולם. And then it goes back to the בן אדם, ואני תפילתי לך את רצון, האם אתה שומע קולי? שוב אני עומד פה ערום לפניך, האם אתה איתי? I just wanted to share with you that one of the most, I find, inspirational teachers at this point in time is this Rav, I think I mentioned him last week, Rav Daniel Katz. And I listened to him again this week, and he talked about the idea that we're all turning to Hashem and saying, okay, God, where are you? Like, what's going to happen? Like, is this a time of Mashiach? Like, what's going to happen in Gaza? When it's, are our boys going to be safe? Are you going to bring back the Gaza? What, turning towards God. And he said that, in fact, God is also turning towards us and saying, are you doing, which, Baruch Hashem, I think we are, mitzvot ben adam lechavero, are we united? How is your emunah? Meaning all the things that we can do, meaning there's two sides to this equation. And he said, we bring Mashiach. We're the ones who create the place. And we're going to talk about this, creating a place where the Shekhinah can dwell. So when I reread this song, which I chose not during a time of war, like, wow, yes, we need God, but God needs us. It's two-sided. Okay, let's hear the song. There's Sharon. That's you.
את רצון, ואני תפילתי לך את רצון. האם אתה שומע קולי? שוב אני עומד פה ערום לפניך. האם אתה זוכר מי אני? זה אני הקטן שהנחת בגן, מבקש, קורא לך שתבוא, שתבוא אליי האדם, כי אני זקוק לך בעולם. אז אם תשמע קול עמוק, עמוק מתוך תוכך, תבין שלא עזבתי אותך. אם תשמע קול שקט, שקט מתוך תוכך, תבין שלא עזבתי אותך. זה אני אלוהים שיצרתי אותך, מבקש, קורא לך שתבוא, שתבוא אליי אלוהים, כי אני זקוק לך בעולם, כי העולם זקוק לך בן אדם, כי אתה זקוק לך בעולם. נו 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 ידייני, נו 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 נו
We got the idea. All right, kavanah is hard. Praying without kavanah, just mumbling the words, yes, check, I daven shachrit, that is not the point. So let's look at source number one. The Abarbanel says, source number one, tefillah bilo kavanah kiguf b'li neshama. But everyone admits that
Can't hear anything.
Sorry. We lost connection for a second, but you're
okay.
back.
Back? Okay. So I was just saying that tefillah b'li Below kavana keguf beli neshama. So, but it's not just a nice to have. Let's look at source number 2. This is from the Mishnah. Ha'oseh tfilato keva, meaning he who makes his tefillah just like perfunctory, just like keva, ein tfilato tachanunim. It's not coming from his heart. It's not, that's not the idea. It's just to mumble a bunch of words. So today we're going to talk about some tips and tricks that we can use to increase our kavanah levels when we daven. So the first thing that we can do is to pray spontaneously. And I am sure that every single one of us in this time of milchama has been praying from our hearts, not from the siddur, just from our hearts, because that is, I mean, it just comes up whenever the mood strikes us. And in fact, the very first tefillah that we have in Tanakh has no words to it. It is just a cry. Let's look at source number 3. This is from Mitzrayim. And this, according to Chazal, this was the turning point. This is when God decided, I am going to redeem Am Yisrael from Mitzrayim. Source number 3, Vayihi bayamim harabim hahem vayamat melech Mitzrayim vayenchu bnei Yisrael min ha'avoda v'yizaku v'ta'al shavatam el ha'elokim min ha'avoda vayishma Elohim et na'akatam vayizkor Elohim et brito et Abraham et Yitzchak v'Yaakov. So there were no words, but that was the very first tefillah, if you call it that. And after that, that was the turning point. And then God sent Moshe and Aaron, and Yetziat Mitzrayim began. So that is the first kind of tefillah that we can do that has 1,000,000% kavanah, tefillah from our hearts, not from the siddur. The second kind of tefillah that we can do, which I think we've all also been doing a lot of, is reciting Tehillim. That is, Tehillim were written. I have another class that I teach where we examine Tehillim. And Tehillim are expressions from David HaMelech and other sages who wanted to express in the most beautiful way possible deep emotions. So it's not like, right, that we have to do it at this time, but if you're feeling a particular emotion, which many of us have many emotions at this point in time, Tehillim is also, it's sort of like the bridge to saying words that are written for us, but when we feel like it, not necessarily at a set time. And the last thing is 6 prayers. We open up our siddur, and we read what's in the siddur, but these are communal and they're standardized words that I just want to throw out to all of you. What is the value of having 6 words in the siddur? Why can't we just daven whatever we want, whenever we want?
That's my question to you.
Oh, okay. Some answers. But let's see if we have ideas first before I come in with my preset answers. Also, people on Zoom are welcome to participate. Yeah, go ahead.
We have to need structure, we need guidance, and that's what's guidance to use the right word. If you don't, as much as we feel all these emotions, it's often hard to express it.
Absolutely.
So it's a guideline, an architect.
Excellent. Good. Other ideas? Melissa, you can participate.
We didn't hear her on Zoom. We didn't hear her.
Okay, I'll repeat. She talked about the idea of structure and about, even though you might have emotions, you might not have the words to express those emotions. And it's very helpful to have someone like David HaMelech, who already wrote the words for us in such a beautiful way, or Chazal as Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, who wrote the Shemoneh Esrei, to express our emotions, to help us out.
I would say also, there's like we need, you use the word guidance, that, you know, we can't just rely, like we, of course we feel our emotions and it's good to pay attention to feel them, but like, what's the Torah view on how, like what we do with it? So we might, like, it's like an advice also, like the Tefillah gives us advice on how to approach it in a Torah-centered way,
Excellent.
what we are feeling.
Right. Did everyone catch that?
I think that I moved that mic, so
Okay,
I think I
excellent.
might have heard.
Okay.
And you spoke
They're
that.
very nice, very good.
That was Ellen.
No, it was very good. It was very clear. You can be emotional about something, but you direct it into the Torah way of understanding that instead of the baseball way of understanding that. It's great.
Right.
I was also thinking that sometimes, like, you know how that they always talk about how come Ashrei is an Aleph, was it Ashrei, or whatever, or different things are in Aleph, Eshet Chayil is an Aleph Bet, or there were a couple of things that, and I'm thinking of Eicha. That's what I'm thinking of. That's where they say it. Maybe by Eicha they say it. That the reason it had to be an Aleph Bet was because David HaMelech, Shmuel, no.
Shlomo. Mishlei
No.
was Shlomo.
Eicha is Yirmiyahu.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Eicha.
Okay, Eicha is Yirmiyahu. Sorry, this
Right.
morning was really
Okay.
okay. Yirmiyahu, his anguish was so great that it helped him, keep it
Time box.
right,
it.
like put it in a box. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to properly, it was able to. I'm not saying it, but I'm too tired. But you get my picture.
Yes.
Sometimes when you have that structure, it also helps you, contain it.
I've heard that comment also about the Ashamnu
Ashamnu.
Bagadnu.
Right.
That is, there's a beginning, but there's also an end
Oh.
to
That you
our
need
list
to-
of sins. I just want to, Dina, I wanted to comment on something that you said. When I started studying the Shemoneh Esrei, I don't know about you guys, but all the things that are on the list of the 19 brachot that we're meant to say every single day, 3 times a day, however many times we daven, many of those things would not be on my list of things to daven for. And yet, because we have things like, returning to Yerushalayim and rebuilding the Beit HaMikdash, that spark kept the dream alive for 2,000 years, so that when we came back, it's like, oh, right, we've been davening from this for 2,000 years. So, right, good. Okay, I'm gonna give anyone on Zoom want to add anything?
I had another thought.
Please.
There's so many times in the Torah where we have people who make requests that were quote unquote wrong, like Yiftach, how he didn't phrase it right and he paid the price. So in our tefillot, sometimes we'll be asking for something and maybe we're not really asking it in the right way. Maybe our phrases aren't right. I mean, I know it's not a neder, but and neders you have to be even more careful, but still it helps us like make sure that we're asking for the right thing in the right way, as opposed to maybe asking for something and realizing afterwards that was not phrased correctly.
Good. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple more ideas just to throw in there, just to add to some of the things that you have said. First of all, we are in a committed relationship with God, and that is how we express that committed relationship is by davening in a structured way. And I find it's very similar to a marriage relationship or a relationship that you have with your kids, where there is a sense like sometimes, there's fireworks, and sometimes, you go out to dinner in a really fancy restaurant. But more often than not, your relationship is about taking out the garbage, doing the laundry. It's not about the candlelit dinner. And candlelit dinner is like the kavanah, and that every single day I got to, sweep the floor or whatever it is we do on a daily basis. I don't sweep the floor every day, but I do take out the garbage pretty regularly. That is the kefah. That is, I am making a commitment to this relationship. Yes, so that's one idea. But I want to tell you a story. There is a rabbi in New York whose name is Rabbi Nathan Lopez Cardoza. And he taught, I don't know how he did this, but he taught in a seminary that he runs. And he gave his students, he is Orthodox, but he gave his students permission for 1 week as an experiment, not to daven what's in the Siddur, to daven just what's in their hearts, as often as they wanted to, and to say whatever they wanted to. And he said, my only requirement is that you write down how long you davened each time. They came back after a week, and lo and behold, the first day they're like, oh yes, I'm so excited, I can do whatever I want. And they were davening, for 20 minutes, half an hour, 40, whatever, really long. And by the time they got down to the end of the week, it was like 3 or 4 minutes. Because like, okay, I said that yesterday. Why do I have to say it again? God knows already what. And they ran out of words and they ran out of energy. And we need the structure. Yes.
I don't know the source. I know the source where I heard it from, which was my Rebbitzin in Cleveland, but that's the obligation of tefillah every day is shevach, bakasha, and hoda'ah. So is it that we're required to read the siddur? Like, is that like I understand that all 3 parts of that are in the established prayers that we say from the siddur every day. But if like this rabbi did for like a week off, is that like your obligation to fulfill is if you do those 3 parts in whichever way you do it? If it's
Right,
like,
Why does the amount of time really matter as long as
you're
you do the
doing
3
that.
parts?
oh, okay, yeah, sure, that part too.
What is it? So I don't think God is timing us. I think Chazal has said there are, and when our class continues and we move into Shachrit, then we'll talk about what are the bare bones that we're supposed to say, and what are the things that if you have extra time that you can do, but you can skip them if you don't have that much time. But to answer your question, Chazal mandated, yes, there are things that we're supposed to say. And they do include those 3 elements that you praise and request and thanks. So, but they are in this structured way. Okay. Yes, so personally, just to share with you, I daven Shachrit every morning, and I find the kavanah for davening Shachrit to be pretty easy. But I also, at some point in time, a number of years ago, took on davening Mincha. Mincha is much harder because I'm in the middle of work and my little alarm goes. I'm like, okay, time to daven Mincha. I'm in the middle of doing it. Why are you bothering me? I have to daven. I have to keep working. That's what I meant. But it reminds me, no, I'm not here in this world to make money. I'm not here in this. I'm a technical writer. I'm not here in this world to, review and edit documents. My purpose in this world is to serve Hashem. And it's just this reminder. And it's way harder for me to stop and to have kavanah and mincha. But it's so much, I find it just so much more important to help me realign my priorities and say, okay, right, what am I doing? And the last thing I just wanted to add was, if any of you have traveled abroad and you've walked into a shul, and it's the exact same thing that we do here in Beit Shemesh in our shuls, there's something just very comforting and very unifying about the idea of having one. Obviously, we have Mishach Sfarad and Mishach Ashkenaz, and okay, it's not 100% identical, but for the most, you know that.
Along.
Yeah. So there's something very, very comforting and unifying about that. Okay, so now let's talk about having kavanah plus 6 prayers. Let's look at source number 4 from the Shulchan Aruch. This is very surprising. This is the Shulchan Aruch. This is the halacha book. But look how they describe tefillah. Hamitpalel tzarich shechaven belibo. A davener has to direct her heart. Perush hamilot shemutzi b'sfatav. They have to understand the meaning of the words, and that's what we're all doing here: is to understand the base level, to understand the meaning of the words. Vayachshov ki'ilu shchina kenegdo. We're supposed to imagine that we're standing in front of the Shekhinah. V'yasir kol hamachshavot hatordot oto ad tishaer machshavato v'kavanato zacha b'tfilah v'yachshav ki'ilu haya medaber lifnei melech basar v'dam haya mesader devarav u'mechaven b'hem yafe leval yikashel kal v'chomer lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shu choker kol hamachshavot. So if you had an important meeting with the head of your company, or, Kal v'chomer with, Netanyahu or Biden, or you would really prepare what you're wearing. You would prepare your thoughts. You would have, practice. You would be prepared and alachat kama v'kama before Melech Malchei Hamlachim to get rid of all thoughts that are bothering us. And in a moment, actually, we're going to talk about if there are things that are bothering us, you can actually take that and weave that into your tefillah. That is, all of us are bothered right now, but that's part of our tefillah. It's not right to direct it. So that's the goal. The goal is to clear our heads, to direct ourselves, and to imagine that we're standing in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu. וכך היו עושים חסידים ואנשי מעשה שהיו מתבודדים ומכוונים בתפילתם עד שהיו מגיעים להתפשטות הגשמיות. It's just so, I mean, it's funny. This is not like a Hasidic text. This is the Shulchan Aruch. That, get rid of, to strip yourself of your gashmiut, of your materialism. ולהתגברות כוח השכלי עד שהיו מגיעים קרוב למעלת הנבואה, until you get to this level of prophecy. ואם תבוא לו מחשבה אחרת, if another thought comes to you, have you ever had other thoughts come to you while you're davening? How else are you going to do your shopping list? בתוך התפילה שישתוק עד שתתפתל המחשבה, וצריך שיחשוב בדברים המכניעים הלב ומכוונים אותו לאביו שבשמיים, ולא יחשוב בדברים שיש בהם קלות ראש. So we need to just try to quiet our minds, a kind of a meditative process, until you have seriousness and don't have kalut rosh, that you're not, just thinking, as I said, about, oh, what do I have to do today? That's the goal.
I have a question. How do you reconcile, and this is what I said was my biggest problem.
Sure.
Talk about the fact of understanding the meaning of the words. How do you reconcile, all these Americans who are all davening in America and they don't understand the words, and I don't understand the words. And how do you have a conversation in words that you don't understand?
So if you are not davening with meaning,
I'm back to what's the point?
then I think people who don't daven with meaning are doing it maybe out of a sense of tradition, maybe out of a sense of connection to their ancestors. But it's like that is like the bottom of just saying words you don't understand.
The checklist.
Is there koach in the words though?
Because that's what I also have heard. If you don't understand it, you have sort of an idea of what you're saying, and there's something in the words themselves.
I think more Kabbalistically, with Lashon HaKodesh, that these words have power in them, and them coming out of your mouth into existence creates a positive influence in the world.
I'm hesitant that there's a fine line here. I just want to make sure with that thought that we don't turn tefillah into a magical amulet. It's not magic. We don't say the words and poof,
what we want happens.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, someone I know who doesn't understand Hebrew, davens in English except for, I think.
That's what I was going to ask.
Except for Shema, I think you have to say it, some halacha, I think you have to say Shema in Lashon HaKodesh, but she'll look at by now she knows what the words mean because she's read English so much.
Yes.
But she davens in English.
Yes.
She has her Hebrew English sitter so that she knows she can hear what they're saying and kind of match
and
up.
It's interesting because I was always told exactly what
think
she's saying, that you should.
I think just
it's more important to understand
Hebrew that
and have meaning behind what you're saying.
Interesting.
Yes, you're allowed to daven in English. So yes, of course, the Hebrew has power to it, but it's not magic.
And of course,
Well, I'm
there's
not
parts
saying
that
it's magical, but we do believe that there's
of course,
that there is a value to Lashon HaKodesh. I don't know, maybe do people daven in Hebrew? For me, when I'm davening in Hebrew, my Hebrew's not amazing. Like if there's a word, I'm like, wait, I don't know what this means. I look over to the English side. I'm like,
but that also, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I understand a lot of the Hebrew, but not all of the Hebrew. And just that moment of looking over to the English to see what that word means I lose it. I lose the kavanah right
Oh,
there.
that makes me
Really?
get,
Yeah,
not more,
that's so
it doesn't
interesting.
gain.
I just, I find the back and forth is more disruptive for me.
So I'm wondering if you have a siddur that you would feel comfortable taking a pencil and writing above the words that you stumble over
Maybe.
the translation. So you're still in the Hebrew,
Maybe,
and then you have the translation on top.
maybe.
So far.
Good idea.
All right, let's talk about what inhibits kavanah.
Life.
Yeah. And you said, you know, for you, davening shachri isn't an issue. For me, oh my gosh, I have so much to get to in the morning. Like I'm just thinking about everything I need to do. I actually think I would be better davening at night.
So according to the Raanan, just in terms of halachically, as women,
Right.
once a day is what we're obligated to. So if that works better for you, I'm not a rabbi.
Also,
Always in rush.
Consult your rabbi. But yes, go
we,
ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes, Abby.
Oh, okay. So I always think when I'm davening and not concentrating of my husband standing in shul. Now, granted, you can lose your concentration in shul as well, but I always think, wow, he's in such a better position to be paying attention. It's quiet, he's surrounded by other people doing the same thing. I know your mind can still wander, but I'm in my house, there's nobody here. My youngest child in his 40s, but the house is here, you know, and you look around, oh, that really needs to be dusted, or you know, oh, here's the newspaper, or just a million different things. I'll go stir the soup. You got the idea.
Yep. So Abby, is it possible for you to go to shul?
I have so much trouble getting out in the morning that I wouldn't. I mean,
Or maybe say like take one day a week and say, I'm going to try one day a week. Not every day, one day
well,
a week.
it's certainly a good idea.
Okay.
If I could do it or not, it is definitely a good idea.
I think I'm more. Okay. Yes. Anyone want to add anything else about what inhibits kavanah? I find for me, part of the difficulty is just saying the same words over and over and over again. It's very mind numbing. And to like, right, to have kavanah about the same words that I just said yesterday and said a million times, that's challenging. I do want to share with you, though, that in the formation of the Shemoneh Esrei as we have it today, in the early days, the only thing that was fixed was the chatima, the bracha at the end, and the shaliach tzibur would make up the stuff before the chatima. In the early days, meaning we don't have the minutes of the committee that actually set the Shemoneh Esrei, but what we do have is a letter from Barcelona to Rav Amram Gaon in the 9th century, and he wrote, we don't know exactly what we're supposed to be saying. Can you write it down for us, please? And that was the first instance we have of a written siddur. And of course, as soon as he written down, then everybody started using it. And that became the fixed siddur. But before then, I mean, the problem was if you're the shaliach, imagine the challenge of, oh, I'm the shaliach where I have to like make stuff up creatively and spontaneously that has to go with all these topics. Oh my goodness, yes.
For me, I feel like I have more kavanah probably in Shemoneh Esrei than any of the other two. Well, Shema is a little bit easier for me, but the reason being is, first of all, I use an art scroll, and what art scroll does by each of the brachot in Shemoneh Esrei is it says like what the topic is. Okay,
Right.
so first of all, I get focused, and then it's only 2 sentences. Like I can pay attention for 2 sentences. The ADD doesn't kick in unless it's like a whole long, you know,
No,
what
I
I mean?
agree,
Psuke
I
December,
agree.
it's like it's so long,
That's
and I
good.
get a little bit lost.
Okay.
But 2 sentences, I can focus on that.
No, I agree.
That's good to hear. Okay, so there are 2 Rabbanim, Eli Tarragon and Michael Rubenstein, who wrote a book called Tfilah Kimifgash. And I'm going to present some of these ideas now about like having the mindset that when we are davening, we are having a mifgash, a meeting with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So when we daven, the goal is not for us to do, I don't know, some sort of astral projection and leave our bodies and go up to Shemayim. No, what we're doing is God comes down to us. And because we no longer have a Beit HaMikdash, it's Shochanti B'Tocham. We're creating a space inside of ourselves in which the Shekhinah can dwell. And what we're going to talk about now are a couple of halachic things. Okay, it's the halacha, this is what we're supposed to do. But the goal of all of it is to create ourselves in the minds, to help us get into the mindset that I'm meeting the Shekhinah, I'm creating a space where the Shekhinah can dwell so that I can have this mifgash. Okay, so let's talk about what we're meant to do. Let's look at source number 5 in the Shulchan Aruch. שעומד להתפלל, ילך לפניו 3 פסעות דרך קירוב והגשה לדבר שצריך לעשות. So it's very funny because the halacha is before we daven in Shemoneh Esrei, we go forward 3, but what does everybody do today? Yeah, we go backwards 3 and then go forwards 3. That's what we do today. That is standard. But really the part that's halachic according to the Shulchan Aruch is the 3 forward. Yes.
I've looked into this. The reason I found why is the only reason we do it is because usually, like, if you're davening in front of something, like, you have to take, in order to take 3 steps forward, you have to
go
make
back.
that space. But if you're just like stam in your living room and you have, like, you're not standing by the table or whatever, that just take the 3 forward.
And that, thank you. And that is mirrored when we finish by the 3 steps back for Oseh Shalom.
But that one is, that one's real though. The 3 steps.
Oh, right, right,
yeah.
right. We start with 3 steps forward, and then we
is
end with 3 steps back.
practical.
Right, that's the sandwich. Okay, good. Okay, so we take our step because there's again, we're thinking about God as the Melech Malchei Hamlachim, and there's just a respect, kavod rosh, before we go into this meeting. Okay, number 2, source number 6. Okay, so we talked about this. I'm not going to read this one. And actually, number 7 is interesting. It actually really delineates it. It's 3 steps backwards. This is source number 7, and then to the right first. Is that right? Yes. No, I'm sorry, to the left first. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, and then Hu Yaseh Shalom. That's according. I'll read the Shulchan Aruch. Korea ufosea 3 psiot le'acharav b'kriya achat v'achar shepasa 3 psaot be'ado. Korea kodem shei. I'm going to read it in English. One bows and takes 3 steps backward, all while still bowing. After the 3 steps, while still bowing, and before straightening up, while saying Oseh Shalom b'mromav, then you turn your head to the left, and then Hu Yaseh Shalom, you turn your head to the right, and then you bow forward like a servant taking leave of the master. And then you say the Hiratzon that the Beit HaMikdash will be rebuilt. So one day we'll actually be in the real Beit HaMikdash and not just in the Beit Knesset. And one last halachic point. Normally our right side is our strong side, but we actually are supposed to start moving backwards with our left foot, which is our weaker side, to show we really don't want to leave this mifgash. So we're using our left foot first, and then left, and then right. That's how we start, and that's how we end. Okay. Next. There is a Rav named Shimon Schwab. Do you all have this picture of the Beit HaMikdash? Fascinating idea. He did a mapping of the Shemoneh, of the Shachrit service with the various rooms in the Beit HaMikdash, because he said it was a very conscious decision on the part of Chazal that when we lost the Beit HaMikdash, in order to feel like we are still continuing with our closeness to Kadosh Baruch Hu, even though we don't have a Beit HaMikdash anymore, each of the tefillot corresponds to a room in the Beit HaMikdash. So, for example, Psuke de Zimra starts with Baruch Shamar and ends with Yishtabach. So he says, oh, that's the entering the ulam and the leaving the ulam. It's just very interesting. But it's this leftward motion from where we enter from the Ezrat Nashim. And where do we end up? When we're doing the Shemoneh Esrei, we're facing the Kadosh HaKadoshim. So to actually have this picture in mind, like as we're davening the Amidah, oh, right, I'm metaphorically facing the Kadosh HaKadoshim. I thought it was very interesting, so I wanted to share that with you. And then when you take your he says, when you take your 3 steps backwards, you're leaving the Heichal, you're leaving the Ulam, you're leaving the Azar, you end up in the Ezrat Nashim, and that's what the 3 steps backwards is, according to Rav Schwab. Okay. So how do we prepare ourselves for this mifgash? Okay, first of all, what are we supposed to wear?
Not pajamas.
Not pajamas. Thank you very much. We're supposed to dress nicely, not schlumpy. Excellent. Now,
I think it's not just a schlumpy thing. I think you're not supposed to wear clothing you slept in.
That's
More than wear the clothing you slept in.
Correct.
It's not just pajamas. I think there's some halacha that you're, I think.
Yeah, correct. Now, if, of course, you are in a situation like you're in captivity, then you don't have a change of clothing, then of course you are still allowed to daven and your prayers will be accepted. But we're talking in the ideal situation, wear proper clothing as if you're greeting a king. What would you wear to greet the king? Second of all,
I wouldn't wear this to greet the king, you know. Just don't wear pajamas.
yes.
I found that one very hard, that it says to dress as if you're greeting the king. I don't have clothes every day, or the clothes that I would wear to greet the king.
that was my point.
I don't understand that so much.
Well, he's also Avinu.
I couldn't hear that, what she said.
Oh, yeah. She said, Sharon said that she doesn't have clothes for greeting a king, like, you know,
Every day.
a
On a day-to-day
fancy,
basis.
right. So, right, according to the halacha, right, you're correct, you're not supposed to daven in what you slept in. But it's a mindset. It's the time that I really think about this, one of the halachot that I learned personally and just recently is when you're lighting candles on Friday night, you should not say, oh, I'll light candles first and then I'll get dressed. No, you're supposed to dress in your Shabbat clothes, be completely prepared to greet the Shabbat queen. And so that puts more stress on me, but there's this idea. I'm about to greet Shabbat HaMalkah. I'm going to look nice. So, yeah.
For women,
Mhm.
should you cover your hair? You have to cover your hair if you're alone in your house.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. So I can find out for you. I don't know the answer. Let me make a note of that so I don't forget.
Also, like what you said, what Dina said about the king, there are other aspects of a relationship with Hashem. It's not just a king relationship. It's also a father-child relationship.
Right.
It's a relationship. So if it's a relationship,
Yeah.
then I don't think, like, the mindset should be king, but I think the actual clothing could be whatever you would wear, like you're on a date with Hashem, Ki'ilu. I mean, that sounds.
Or like if you have
You're
a
on
friend
a
coming
meeting,
over
right.
for coffee at
Right.
10 and you're gonna daven before, like if you're gonna put on makeup or whatever, make yourself presentable, like
your
would you
friend,
not for your
right.
friend, Kaviochel, you would do that for Hashem. Like make yourself presentable.
Presentable. Yeah. Better.
Can I ask a question? Hi, I'm on Zoom.
Her name is Neshama.
Hi, Neshama.
He can't see the screen. so-
Morning. So like on both sides of this, right? If Hashem is like the friend or like like our father, right? Like I would wake up in the morning, stay in pajamas and sit down on the couch with my father and schmooze with him. So like to me, it was always like I don't know that I've ever learned this halacha that you have to be dressed. And it's kind of like, I actually like davening in pajamas because it's like, Hashem, we're close. Like this is an intimate relationship and like, I'm comfortable and we're just talking.
I hear you. I didn't write the halacha. I'm just sharing with you what I've learned.
Well, it's also not only that. He's
Right.
still, he's Avinu Malkeinu. Like he's not only one. You also have to, like, we have Ava and Yira. So like there also has to be the
Thank you.
respect. It has to be both.
Okay, I like that. Thank you for sharing. I don't know who you are, but thank you.
That was
It's Dina.
Thank
Guys,
you.
we should meet.
Also, I was told that, okay, if you have to, we'll just be honest here. Some of us do sometimes still have our pajamas on. Put something over it, like a nice bathrobe or something like that.
Okay.
One pajamas to another pajamas?
You have your daytime pajamas and your nighttime pajamas.
People also have, their Shabbat robes. It's like a very big thing
That's
in
accepted,
America,
right. No, so that's not pajamas. That is
Right.
A Shabbos robe.
Shabbat. Okay, number 2. So we're dressed nicely, however we can. Number 2, source number 8. Va'amar Rabbi Yochanan harotzeh sheyikabel alav ol malchut shamayim shlom yifaneh vayitol yadav v'yaniach. We don't do the tefillin part. Vayikra kriyat shema v'yitpalel v'zo hi malchut shamayim shlema. So if you're accepting malchut shamayim shlema, yifaneh. What does that mean? You should go to the bathroom. You should relieve yourselves. You should not stand and daven before you've gone to the bathroom because you're going to be distracted. You should cleanse your body first. Yes.
Question. If I have to go to the bathroom in the middle of davening, do you say Asher Yatzar, or is that like, do you
Sure.
have to wait until after
No.
davening? Because you're not supposed to talk in the middle.
No, that's not to talk to people, not talk to God.
So you can interrupt with Asher.
You can say Asher Yatzar.
Okay. Thank you.
There is the halacha that I wrote down that says if you can hold it for a parsa, which is 70 minutes, then you're yotze. If you can't hold it in and you have to go and you're like in the middle, then you're 30 seconds. Look, the rabbis talk about everything. Then you have to do the Amidah again. Sorry.
I actually heard on the radio, they were making all the hanchayot for Shabbat. They said, make sure your shul has a merchav mugan and you can only be a certain amount of people, make sure you can fit in. And they said they added to their list of things, this was on the radio. And if there's an azakah during Shemoneh Esrei, I'm like, this is what they're telling you on the regular radio. If there's an azakah during Shemoneh Esrei, you go silently to the safe room. And then when you come back, you start Shemoneh Esrei from the beginning.
Really?
I was
That's
just so
hysterical.
fascinated that
That is
the
wow.
announcement. They were announcing, all the different hanchayot. It wasn't like it was just like it was part of the list that they were reading
That's
off. I was
amazing.
like, wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So there you go. So I guess, so during Shemoneh Esrei, you might have to start all over again. But the rest of, at least according to the radio announcer.
Okay, source number 9. Next thing. So we've talked about our dress. We talked about our bodies, cleansing ourselves first. Now let's talk about our heads. Ein ondim lehitpalel ela mitoch koved rosh. We should be serious in some way. It's not like, oh yeah, no, serious. Chasidim harishonim hayu shohim sha'a achat umitpalalim kedei sheyechavnu et libam lamakom. Afilu hamelach shoel bishlomo lo yashivenu. So you should, the early Chasidim prepared themselves for tefillah for an entire hour. We'll talk in a minute about what that means for us. But even if the king comes along and says, hey, how are you doing? You're not allowed to answer. And this is like the toughest one for me. Afilu nachash karuch al. If you see, never mind a snake, how about a cockroach? Yeah. Then you should not stop davening. You should continue davening. Nothing bad is going to happen.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? Right? This is the
The
ideal.
whole thing is about kavanah,
This is the ideal.
This is probably not a poisonous snake though, because like for
Would it
you're
make a
allowed to
difference?
break
For
Shabbos. Yeah,
pikuach
yeah, for
nefesh.
pikuach nefesh, you can break Shabbos. So for sure, a poisonous snake
Right.
you can walk away.
But let's talk about this hour thing. The Shulchan Aruch does in source number 10. I'm not. No. Source number 11. That's why I did it. What does the Shah? We're supposed to prepare an hour beforehand. Let's look at what the Mishnah Berurah says, which is the condensation of the Shulchan Aruch. Sha'a achat, one whole hour. Tanu Rabbanan, or actually the students of Rabbi Yonah said in the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah, הוכיחו מגמרא, דאף על גב שבכל מקום דאמרינן שעה, even though it says a full hour, פירוש, שעה מועטת, condensed hour, הכה פירוש שעה אחת מ-12 מי"ב שעות ביום, ומהי זה לחסידים ולשאר עם, די בשעה מועטת שישמע קודם שיתחיל שהוא כדי הילוך חטא טפחות 8 טפחים, the time that it takes you to walk 8 to 9 centimeters, not for 1 minute. 1 minute. So just to share with you what the change that I personally made this past Elul, I have a meditation app that I use, and it has really nice meditative music. I meditate, I put on a timer 10 minutes before I daven. It just really, really relaxes me and focuses me. And my davening is much better when I just, now, I don't know if you want to do it for 10 minutes, but as a personal recommendation, it really has made a difference in my davening.
What I do, I have like right before Sukkot Zimra, I have like 3 post-it notes with ideas that like help center me.
Yes,
And so like I read them, take a breath, but like the one that works the most for me, of course, this is personal for everybody, I'm sure. But like a taste of Shabbos, like just me and Hashem, like the quiet of Shabbos. You know how like Shabbos morning before everybody else is up, and it's just like complete peace. Like just think about that for a second. That one really centers me.
Which meditation app do you use?
Calm.com.
Oh, okay.
I love it. Okay. Next, let's look at source number 12. This is our most current person that I'm quoting. That's Rav Eliezer Melamed. Haneshama shebepnimiyut halev tehora. Our neshama is pure. האתגר הוא לגלות את טובה כלפי חוץ ולתקן את העולם, ולכן צריך לבטא את התפילה על ידי השמעת קול, וכל הפחות על ידי הביטוי בשפתיים. So we know the halakha, this comes from Hannah in her tefillah, that she moved her lips. When we are davening, we're not just thinking in our heads, we're moving our lips, so that we express with our bodies what it is that we want to say. Okay, I have a couple minutes left. Source number 13 deals with the question of where should we pray? So it's really interesting because Corona has changed all of this, and we all have davened both in our living rooms and outside minyan's. Does anyone feel more comfortable davening in nature than davening in shul? I know some people feel that way.
I think I would.
Not me.
You like being in shul?
I just don't like bugs.
Oh.
So I get distracted.
When I say nature, I mean like my garden.
It's very funny. So source number 13, actually, I'm just going to summarize, talks about the idea that when you go, he's assuming that you should go to shul, you should have a makom kavua, that you should have this place. And actually, it's actually very interesting when you're in Avelut, you're not allowed to sit in your makom kavua because everything has changed. Yes.
I've heard you shouldn't daven in your bedroom.
Maybe that's related to the pajama one.
And then is it like reflections from window panes or mirrors?
In front of a window. You're
that
not
I
supposed to
haven't
daven in front of a window.
Oh, window.
And you're not supposed to daven in front of a mirror.
Mirror.
And
Why
you're
not?
not supposed to daven, you're also not supposed to daven in front of a picture of a person.
As if you're
Right,
davening.
but why
to
not a
daven.
window?
I think she said there were, because she said there were, Sharon, right?
Reflections.
Oh, the
reflection.
reflection from the
If there's no
window.
reflection, I think it's okay.
I thought, I have no idea. I would like in my
That
head,
I
I'm like,
have
oh,
heard.
it's like distracting to like see what's going on outside.
So again, for me, that would be like nature, like
Right.
that would be more connecting for me.
I also find it hard to sit to not daven around picture, but you're in your house, you could have picture frames all around you. Like, so you gotta find that one piece on the wall where there's like nothing. Like,
Right, I never heard that until we
I had a minion in our house one day for, Mincha and Shabbos, or I don't remember what it was. And some guy came in and said to me, we can't daven here because all
Yeah.
pictures on the
Yeah.
wall. I'm like, I never heard that before.
Yeah, I was told that at my house also. So I moved some pictures, I moved some things around.
People
So
pictures.
I have a place to
other
daven.
pictures, but just not people pictures.
Right, right.
I never heard that before. I didn't know. I don't know if there's a source for it.
Okay, wrapping up from all the things that we talked about this morning. What can we do to increase our Havana? So number one, preparation. Prepare ourselves physically, how we dress, going to the bathroom, making sure we're dressed properly, taking a moment to breathe, to have your little inspirational sticky notes, meditating, just getting our heads into the space that this is not a joke. This is not something that we do. Yeah, just check off the box. But
See what I
Bug
mean?
is like, yeah.
See
but
what I
it's
mean?
like- but
The
it's
bug
like
is
landing-
distracting.
It's landing in my pocket.
I love bugs, by the way. Of course, it's a creation of God. I don't not like bugs. Just on me when I'm davening,
Yeah.
or ever.
Or ever.
Yeah. I apologize.
to find that balance between feeling the joy of davening, but the seriousness, because we're creating a place, Bilvavi Mishkan Evne, creating a place inside of ourselves for the Shekhinah to dwell. To keep in mind whatever works for you, whether or not we're thinking about that picture of the Beit Mikdash facing the Kadosh HaKadoshim, or imagining the Shekhinah coming down right here, so that we can greet the Shekhinah properly. If there's something stressful that is really bothering us, not to, if it's trivial, push it aside, but if it's a serious concern, weave it into your davening, bring it to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, because that's what we're doing. We're having a conversation with God. And last but not least, figure out the place for you to daven. That whether it's outside in your garden, whether it's in your makom kavua, wherever it feels like this is where I daven, I have my place. So take a minute. I know we only have a couple minutes left. Take a minute and just jot down on your worksheets, what can I do to increase
Why
my
is like in love with me?
If anyone needs a pen, I have an extra pen. Take a couple minutes, jot down, what can I do
While they're jotting down,
to increase my
there was
Havana?
a chat here question
Oh, please.
from Charlene. If one has a leg problem, fracture, etc., and it's hard to stand, are there special rules if you have to sit occasionally during davening? You probably could answer that. Did you ask when you had your knee issues?
Oh, well, yes, from all my issues that I've had in the past. That, yes, that medically, if you can't, if
If you can't stand, you
then
can't
you sit,
stand.
yeah, yeah. Like even like,
I remember even in an airplane, if it's gonna be.
if it's dangerous.
Or if it's gonna be.
I think there
bothering
might be
people.
like, there might be certain things that you really like try, like, like better to stand for Shemoneh Esrei than Baruch She'amar. Like that, like there might be like a priority list, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But yes,
But
if
no.
you're having a mental issue, sit.
No, it's not like, oh, I can't stand, so I shouldn't daven. No, you should daven sitting.
Sitting. That's a good way to put it.
Okay. Anyone?
Could I say something?
Please, Abby.
Hi. So I found, and I talked to other people who felt the same way, that during all the time at home during the pandemic, when we had to daven at home, I discovered that I do much better at home because I could take my time, and it's,
Me too.
I'm talking about on Shabbos. During the week was everything else I said before, but on Shabbos, a lot of people found, I'm not looking around, somebody walks in and then, you see, I don't know, whatever going on, and I'm paying attention to all of the stuff. I have trouble, just focusing in general, not just for davening. And so, and then I found that if I didn't understand something in the Hebrew, I could just look at the English. I could take my time. I wasn't rushing to keep up with everybody else. And I still say that I don't know how anybody finishes Aleinu in the time that they give you in shul. When I was saying Kaddish for my father, I learned that I could only do the first paragraph, then do the Kaddish, then go back to second paragraph.
To do. I asked him the same
Oh, really?
question. He said, when I said I can never answer Kaddish because I don't know what to do. He said, say the first paragraph, Kaddish, and then the last paragraph.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I found I wasn't the only one that found that it was just much more meaningful. But it's also when I do go to shul, I feel really good about being there. And I like, singing with everybody, especially in this terrible times now, just being with a group and everybody singing together. And you just really feel like everybody's putting their heart into it. And that's important too. So it's like, I guess the solution is stay home some weeks and go to shul other weeks.
Anyone have anything to share? Well, thank you all very much. Thank you for coming in person. For those of you who came in person. And next week we will start the Amidah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I always love that you don't pray in unison.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, you can take your own, in shul,
Oh, you're by yourself, right? Right.
men, you hear all kinds of different sounds. If it's a small shul, you go in, wow, you hear like a cacophony of sounds. They're not praying in unison. It's beautiful.
Ellen, I wanted to tell you, I was so excited by the picture that you painted last week. I showed it to my girls. I have one daughter who's an artist, and
Thank you
she
so much.
loved it.
I
I have a website. I'll try to get it so you can see the pictures.
Bye, Melissa. Have a good day. You have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Melissa.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.